Yo, it has been a while since I went back into my roots and did a spoiler review for you guys. So you know what? Let's do it here. What better movie to give a spoiler review for than Madam Web? So let's do this. Madam Web is the newest movie in this Sony verse of Marvel movies, which is namely just movies that are based off Spider-Man villains and side characters without ever featuring the character Spider-Man. And yeah, the Sony verse, it hasn't exactly done much for anybody. I mean, Venom had its following, but I never got into it. And I actually honestly preferred Venom Let There Be Carnage over the first Venom, even though I still feel Venom Let There Be Carnage has a lot of issues in itself. And then I made Morbius, which was a complete fucking piece of shit. One of the worst comic book movies I've seen in a while. And yeah, you had heard about the early reactions to Madam Web, and I had heard about the early reactions to Madam Web. And many people were talking about that it is maybe the worst superhero movie ever made. I mean, seriously, the reaction you heard, or at least the ones that I heard, was like, yeah, however bad you think it is, it's a lot worse than even that. Yeah, I heard all that and I said, wow, well, I definitely need to see it now. And now that I've seen Madam Web, how is it as a movie? Well, I gotta be honest, I liked it better than Morbius. But don't get it twisted, this movie still fucking sucks dick. Let's just start off with the opening of this movie. Okay, so this movie starts off, Constance Webb, who is Cassie Webb's mother, she is like 9 months pregnant. She's just about ready to burst. And she is in, I want to say, Peru. I think it's Peru. Maybe the Amazon. I can't quite remember that. But she's doing research on spiders, trying to find a spider that has some kind of venom or toxin that will cure diseases. Yeah, you know the story behind the spiders in Spider-Man movies. And right out the gate, you kind of just know the movie's just gonna be terrible. I mean, you see this woman, she is 9 months pregnant, she is just about ready to pop, and where is she? She is in a foreign country with a bunch of poisonous animals and poisonous plants and just dangerous terrain all around her, and people who may not like that she's American, that she's a woman. It's not exactly like she went to a place that's safe. But she had to do it because her research was so important that she went while she's about to give birth any day now. I don't know, she just wanted to make an early run at Mother of the Year, I suppose. And of course, her partner, who is Ezekiel Sims, you know, once she gets the spider, you know, he kills her, he kills the rest of the crew, he takes it for himself because, you know, there weren't other spiders just lurking around that area that he maybe could have grabbed. No, he had to kill people in order to get it. But don't worry, everything's gonna be okay for Constance Webb. You know why? Because she's gonna be rescued by indigenous spider people who have used the spider toxins to enhance themselves as they jump through trees in some of the worst, I'm not kidding you, the worst editing and special effects since I can't remember. You know, she just gets put into a magic pool, they birth her baby all safe, but then she fucking dies. And then the little daughter, she grows up to become Cassie Webb, who just works in EMT in New York City with Ben Parker. Oh yeah, exactly. We have absolutely no idea what Cassie Webb's childhood was like, if she experienced powers or anything when she was a kid, how she even fucking got back to America. Did the spider indigenous people just put her in a box and ship her off to America? Like, guys, we're not even 3 minutes into this movie, and do you see where I'm going with it? So anyways, before I go any further, let's talk a little bit more, because this is a review after all. Let's talk about more into the performances of this movie, starting with Dakota Johnson. She plays Cassandra Webb, who becomes Madam Webb. Alright, Dakota Johnson, I gotta say this right now. People have been trying to stress to me that she's a good actress, that she has talent, and you know something, maybe she does. But I gotta be real, I can't think of anything good that this bitch has been in since her 5-minute scene with Justin Timberlake in The Social Network. Aside from that, she's the only things that I can vividly remember her from were the 50 Shades of Twilight fanfiction porn trilogy, and now this bullshit. Dakota Johnson, you really need to fire your agent, sweetheart, because whoever that person is, they are clearly not setting you up for success. And yeah, in this movie, she's not exactly memorable either. I mean, you know, she comes off initially as this jaded, just, you know, hates the world, hates her job. Well, maybe doesn't hate her job, but just doesn't see it in anything special, you know? She came off as your very boring, everyday kind of girl, and even as the movie presses on, I never felt like she developed into anything other than that. And the script's gonna say she does for the sake of a story, but, did I believe it? Nope. Anywho, one day she and Ben Parker are just on the job. They're trying to save a car from flipping over. She winds up in the car. It falls into a lake, and she doesn't die, but she experiences... Okay, I really don't know what happens here. Like, is this the moment where she gets her powers? Is this the moment where she discovers that she has her, psychic future-telling powers? I don't know. There's no explanation to be shown, but for whatever reason, she falls into the lake. Then she's resuscitated back to life by Ben Parker, and now she can see things. See future things before they happen, and, it's a little jumbled all over the place with really shitty editing, and, yeah, that makes it pretty jarring for most of the movie. Now, getting to Ezekiel Sims, turns out he's been in New York this whole time, and apparently his storyline in this movie is he's had this dream or this vision of these 3 Spider-Women killing him. At some point in the future, these girls are going to get their own spider powers, they're going to find him, and they're going to kill him for God knows what reason. The movie never really establishes that. It's why are these girls even going after him? Why are they going to kill him? That just seems sort of out of context for a superhero movie. I mean, you watch most superhero movies, most of the superheroes aren't killers. They don't really want to kill the supervillains that they're up against. The goal is just bring them down, send them to justice. I mean, yeah, I get it. In pretty much every superhero movie, the villain dies, but more often than not, it's not because of anything that the hero did. I mean, hell, even Superman screamed in agony when he had to kill Zod in Man of Steel, so I find it very hard to believe that these girls are just gonna willingly go after this guy and just kill him. But anywho, that vision is enough for Ezekiel Sims. What does he do? He throws on his Spider-Man outfit, has all the Spider-Man powers except for shooting webs, and now he's gonna go find these girls and kill them before they grow up, get their own powers, and kill him. That eventually leads to him getting onto a train where the girls are. Cassie has the vision of him killing these 3 girls, so what does she do? She gets them off the train, and now she has to protect them. This was right after, I believe right after anyway, Cassie came from a baby shower that Uncle Ben was having with his sister-in-law Mary Parker, because she's very, very pregnant, about to give birth to a baby boy, and who do you think that baby boy's gonna be? Well, if you guess Peter Parker, you are right, my friend, but unfortunately the movie can't tell us that because of licensing and shit. I really don't understand that. Ben Parker is in this movie, Uncle Ben's in this movie, and at one point he tells Cassie that he's seen someone, and he can't even say the name of it because we know it's Aunt May, but he can't say that because of licensing issues, and when they're guessing the names of Mary Parker's baby, they can't say Peter because of licensing issues. That really doesn't make sense to me. I don't know if in the deal between Disney and Sony that only Disney products can have Spider-Man in them or something like that, or in the case with Sony, they can't say the name Spider-Man, they can't say the name Peter Parker or May Parker. It's I don't know if characters that were in Disney Spider-Man movies can't be in Sony Spider-Man movies, even though Vulture, who was in Spider-Man Homecoming, was in the post-credits scene for Morbius. Do you understand why this is so confusing? Anyways, I had to get that little rant out of my head for a second, but I want to touch on what I think should have been the plot of this movie and was supposed to be the plot of this movie. By now, I think you're kind of sensing a little bit of a Terminator vibe here. There's this guy, he sees this vision of someone, or in this case, a few people are going to grow up and be his downfall. So what does he do? He's going to stop it from ever happening. In this case, he's doing it with these 3 women who are supposed to grow up and become Spider-Women. What the original plot I heard was supposed to be is this character, Ezekiel Sims, was going to kill Mary Parker as she was pregnant with Peter Parker, because he had maybe a dream or a vision of Spider-Man one day growing up and taking him out. So he's I'm gonna kill Spider-Man before he ever even comes into the world. And Madam Web, she has that vision of that happening. She knows she's going to stop this guy. However, she knows with her power she can't stop him alone. So originally the plot of the movie was she was going to recruit this group of Spider-Women, who was going to be played by these girls probably, and they were going to protect Mary Parker to ensure that Spider-Man would be born. You hear that plot and you're thinking, hey, that sounds kind of cool. I mean, it sounds like Terminator, but that might work for this movie. Or at least would be a lot better of a plot. But instead, they decide, okay, we're going to take this guy, he's going to go after these 3 girls that we don't give a shit about, because these 3 girls, they're so generic. They try to give all 3 of them different little personalities, but none of them ever stand out. None of them even develop their powers at any point in this movie. Yeah, that's another problem with this movie. The trailer marketing for this movie, it fucking sucked. I mean, it tried to show you, oh no, you're going to have Spider-Woman in this movie, but really all you get are like 2 visions of them in their suits with their powers, and that is it. For the rest of this movie, they are ordinary girls just going about life with this psychic lady protecting them. I gotta tell you, the way she protects them, she clearly doesn't know what the fuck she's doing. But at one point, like just as they escaped Ezekiel Sims from trying to kill them, now Madam Web's just like, okay, I have to leave the 3 of you here alone in the woods for a few hours as I figure out my powers and shit. They're like, it's the middle of the woods. She's like, you'll be fine. So yeah, they're stuck in the middle of the woods. Then they wind up at a diner and Ezekiel Sims finds them there. And, you know, of course, thankfully, Madam Web sees the vision coming. So she saves him. She takes him out with a fucking car. And then later on, Madam Web, I'm jumping all over the place, you guys. I'm sorry. Please bear with me. And then later on, Madam Web's like, okay, I need to travel all the way to Peru. I'm going to be gone for a few days, so I'm going to leave you guys here with Uncle Ben. Don't worry, you'll be fine. You'll be safe. There's no way he'll find you. He found you at a diner at BFE, but he's not going to find you here. And then, yeah, of course, Mary Parker goes into labor, so now Uncle Ben has to take the girls to go to the hospital. And, of course, you know, Ezekiel Sims comes after them again there. And, you know, but thankfully, Madam Web has her little psychic vision, takes out the car again. Apparently, the car is this guy's weakness. But, yeah, as I just, like, went through all that really quickly, I'm going to touch on a few issues that the movie has. Number one, I need to finally talk about Ezekiel Sims because I haven't really talked about him as a villain or really the performance that the actor gave. Okay, when it comes to the actor's performance, I gotta be honest. Does this guy speak English? And I swear to you, I'm not saying that to be an asshole. It's a legitimate question I have. Is this an English-speaking actor? The reason I ask that is because when you watch this movie, whenever this guy talked, almost whenever this guy talked, it felt like he was being overdubbed. And not even just overdubbed, but really bad overdubbing. I don't know if that's bad editing or whatever it is, but there were so many moments. The guy either had his mouth completely shut or his mouth like barely open, but the character is clearly talking, and not like inner voice dialogue either. He's clearly talking to someone or about something, and the voice almost never matched up to this guy's lips. So I'm like, okay, either this was just very bad overdubbing, or it was terrible editing, or it was both. I mean, hell, even when this guy is like running through the city or jumping through walls or whatever it is, he's still talking, but he never sounded like he was going through action. I mean, hell, if the guy's gonna be running through New York City and jumping through walls, at least make it sound like he's doing something that's gonna physically exhaust him somewhat. Don't make it sound like he's totally cool and normal at this point. So yeah, forgettable villain who once again suffered from the many technical issues of this movie. Now let's get back to Madam Web and her little side quest that she has in between saving the girls, where she goes to Peru because she's like, I need to figure out my powers. I need to know what my mother did, where she came from. And it's just completely ridiculous. She just decides, I'm just gonna fly over to wherever my mother did her research. And of course, she flies right there and she finds exactly where her mother died, where her mother did the research. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, there's no explanation for how she's so easily found. And of course, when she's there, she finds the spider tribe of people, or at least the leader of them, and he puts her in this little lake, and as soon as, you know, he does that, she has another vision, and now she can control her powers completely, and hell, she can even project her consciousness to be at different places at certain times. We'll touch on that very soon. And yeah, after that, she just immediately makes it back to New York, saves the girls by crashing into Ezekiel Sims again, and now we have our big final showdown. In this big final showdown, you know, the girls' lives look like they're at risk, and, you know, Ezekiel Sims pulls the whole, like, you can't save all of them, but, you know, this is when she projects her consciousness to just grab the girls and float back to safety. It doesn't make sense. I don't understand it whatsoever, but, you know, they need it for the sake of making Madam Web seem kind of OP. So, you know, and then she, you know, crushes him with a giant Pepsi sign because marketing's sake. And then fucking, oh my god. You know, while that was going on, fireworks were going off as, I don't even remember how that was. I don't know if it was part of Ezekiel Sims' plan to kill the girls. I don't know, and I don't care. Yo, Madam Web can see everything, right? Or at least, you know, only when it's convenient for the story. Like, she can't see when someone throws a rock at her or something like that. But, you know, you would think, you really would think that, you know, she can predict all the stuff when people are gonna die or anything like that, but she can't see a fucking firework coming right into her face. I phrased that very wrong, but coming right at her. She takes that to the face, she gets knocked out, but the girls are able to, you know, revive her completely because, you know, they learned CPR from like one lesson that Madam Web gave them when they were in the hotel room. It's like, don't you need to take classes and get a certificate to officially, I don't know, declare yourself capable of using CPR? I'm pretty sure that's how it works anyway. I've had people tell me that's how it works. No, all these girls needed was one fucking lesson and they're able to completely revive her back to life, but now she's blind because, you know, she got hit in the face because she didn't see it coming. Just how? And, you know, end of the movie, you know, Peter Parker, as he's not named, is finally born, which had nothing to do with the story, which is pathetic. You also finally get to see, you know, all the superheroes in their suits. You see Madam Web in her suit. You see the girls in their Spider-Woman suits. And, you know, she talks about, like, we will be prepared for anything because we're strong, independent women who don't need no Spider-Man. It's not that you don't need no Spider-Man. It's that Spider-Man's not allowed to be in your shit for whatever reason. So all in all, Madam Web, yeah, it fucking sucks. None of the actors in this movie give a good performance. None of the characters in this movie even remotely stand out for the right reasons. The visuals are awful. The editing sucks. The writing is some of the worst writing you will ever hear. The action, none of it is memorable for the right reasons. None of it's fun. None of it's intense. None of it's exciting. But here's one thing I will say. This movie is completely fucking terrible. But as you've noticed me throughout this video, me ranting about it, me reviewing it, I'm not even like upset about it. In a weird way, I was kind of enjoying how fucking terrible the movie is. I'm gonna tell you, me and my friend, we looked at each other many times and we were just laughing our asses off at how awful the movie was. So as a result of that, I'm in no way saying that this is a movie that is worth watching or a movie worth checking out or a movie going to give your money's worth. I am in no way, shape, or form saying that. However, if for whatever reason you choose to see it, I do think there is some ironic enjoyment in watching this movie and seeing how fucking awful it is. But it's not like Morbius, which was a complete snooze fest that literally just bored the ever-living shit out of me. In this movie, I was never bored. I was just sitting there admiring and enjoying just how terrible Sony made this Madam Web movie. And I'm further thankful that they decided to give Disney the rights to make the Spider-Man movies, because who the fuck knows what they'd be dishing out if they had the rights to that. And in the end, some people will walk out of this movie saying it is the worst superhero movie ever made. And you know what? If you feel that way, I get it. I completely understand. In my case, although it's a completely fucking terrible movie, I will simply view it like a shitty one-night stand. You show that person the door, you block the number, and then you just laugh it off with your friends who knew about it. You do it that way, and you can press on with life fairly easy. So that's all I gotta say, guys. Thank you so much for watching my video, and as always, don't forget to leave a comment, like, subscribe, and I will see you all next time.